The NBA regular season was probably one of the most exciting years in recent memory, but the playoffs are setting up to be equally as unpredictable when it comes to choosing a champion. Let's start out in the Eastern Conference. With all due respect to the Orlando Magic, the matchup everyone wants to see is the Detroit Pistons versus the Charlotte Hornets. There's a tone of matchups in that series that would be entertaining. Despite his dirty play versus Bam Adebayo, Ball is one of the most talented point guards in the NBA. Cunningham had a first-team All-NBA caliber season, but the real reason is for what transpired when these two teams went head-to-head this season. If these two games are any indication, the Detroit and Charlotte fan bases are in for a treat. Boston draws a first-round matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly comes into this series with plenty of questions. Joel Embiid is sidelined and will not play, which completely changes the identity of this team. That puts even more pressure on Tyrese Maxey to carry the offensive load, while Paul George could be the true swing factor with his shot-making and perimeter defense. Your reward? You get the most complete team in basketball. I keep hearing people talk about how Philadelphia can still make this interesting, and they might for stretches, but Boston doesn't rely on if. The Celtics still have two elite two-way wings in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who can control every aspect of the game. Their depth, spacing, and defensive versatility remain elite across the board, even without some of the names from previous seasons. They can switch, they can score at all three levels, and they don't have a clear weakness to attack. Philadelphia will fight. Maxey's explosiveness and Paul George's presence give them a puncher's chance. But without Embiid anchoring the middle, it's hard to see them sustaining that over a full series. Boston simply has too many answers on both ends. Nobody is overlooking the Sixers, but this matchup is about control, and Boston has it. Celtics in 6. The 3 versus 6 matchup between the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks is quietly shaping up to be one of the more interesting battles of the first round, even if it doesn't jump off the page at first glance. A lot has changed. Most notably, Trae Young is no longer in Atlanta, but somehow the Hawks might be even more dangerous now than they were before. Since the All-Star break, they've been one of the best teams in basketball, led by the emergence of Jalen Johnson, the steady scoring of CJ McCollum, and the two-way impact of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Add in Jonathan Kuminga giving them real juice off the bench, and suddenly, this is a team with depth, balance, and, most importantly, an identity. On the other side, the Knicks look like they were built for postseason success. They've got shooting, they've got defenders, and they've got a go-to scorer in Jalen Brunson. Now with Mike Brown on the sidelines, they have a coach capable of maximizing both ends of the floor and making the necessary adjustments in a series like this. Everything checks out on paper, but when you watch them, there are still moments where you're trying to figure out exactly who they are when things get tight. And that's where Atlanta has an edge. They know exactly how they want to play, and they don't deviate from it. Even without Trae, this Hawks team has a real chance to give New York problems. They've got multiple creators, length on the perimeter, and a second unit that can swing games. The big question in this series is Karl Anthony Towns. If he shows up engaged and aggressive, he can tilt the entire matchup in New York's favor. But that's always the question, isn't it? If he decides to be that guy, the Knicks probably take control. If not, don't be surprised if Atlanta makes this a long, uncomfortable series, and maybe even proves they still have New York's number. The 4 versus 5 matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers doesn't take a ton of overthinking. This one is about contrasting identities and which one holds up under pressure. Toronto, as a 5th seed, is one of the more intriguing teams in the field. You've got a young, versatile core led by Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett. Length, playmaking, and positional flexibility are their calling cards, and on any given night, they can overwhelm teams with that versatility. But with youth comes inconsistency, and that's not something you can afford in a series like this. On the other side, Cleveland is rolling out experience, shot-making, and closers. Donovan Mitchell and James Harden give them two guys who can control games late, while also allowing them to toggle between different styles depending on the matchup. That's where this series could swing. Cleveland can slow it down, speed it up, or isolate when needed. And then there's Evan Mobley. This feels like it could be his real arrival on the playoff stage. Harden wasn't just brought in for star power. He was brought in to make life easier for Mobley, to get him the ball in spots where he can dominate. Because in a series where he's matched up with Scotty Barnes, that matchup is everything. If Mobley rises to the moment and consistently wins those minutes, Cleveland probably controls the series. But if Barnes' physicality and all-around game start dictating things, Toronto gets uncomfortable in a good way. The Cavs might have the edge on paper, but this one could get interesting if that young Raptors core finds a rhythm early.
I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance.